So you've got your draft league all set up and ready to go. Now it's time to add players. Go to the draft module. And right now the slate is clean. There are no players on any of the teams. So what we'd like to do is set up a draft, and we can do that by going to the draft order. Now, you don't need to use this to draft. You can simply pick a player. One way to do that is to go to this top 5 list up in the top right corner. The overall highest rated player in this draft class is Moses Malone. So if you click on him in there, it will automatically change this list to have that player at the top of the list. Once in a while, when you get to near the bottom of the alphabet, such as Ray Williams, you'll see he doesn't appear at the bottom, or at the top rather. And then to add him to your team, you can simply click the add button, and it'll automatically be placed, and it'll go ahead and regenerate a new top 5 list. Alright, but we don't want to do that way. Instead, we are going to construct a draft order and do this pretty much automatically. There are several different ways that you can set up the draft order. One is to simply, first of all, select the number of rounds. So let's say we want to go 4 rounds, just to keep it short and sweet. And then just click on the list button here. This will set up a draft order based on the team list. Now what I mean by that is that New York will be first, Raleigh second, Kentucky third. There's a few other teams below them that'll be also 1, 2, 3 order. So we'll click on that. And as you can see, Minnesota, Michigan, and Inglewood were also added to that. Now this is round 1. If we look to round 2, round 3, round 4, they're identical to round 1. We only set up 4 rounds, so if we go to round 5, you'll see that it's blank. Now I'll return back. Let's delete that one and do the same thing. We'll delete all of them. Alright, we'll do the same thing, except this time we'll add draft serpentine to it. So if I click the list, it'll be based on the team list order again. So in round 1, New York, Raleigh, Kentucky are still on top. Further on, Minnesota, Michigan, and Inglewood up here. If I go to round 2, the order is reversed. Then in round 3, it goes back to the same as round 1. And in round 4, it's the same as round 2. So that's the serpentine method. Now we can also go random here. Let's uncheck the serpentine because that doesn't have anything to do with random. There's a few options you have to do with random as well. One is to simply just click it and let the chips fall where they may. So the computer will just assign a random number each round to each team. And as you can see, it's a hodgepodge, so they're all over the place. A little more fair. Another method is to assign different teams ping pong balls. So if we assign ping pong balls here, let's say to New York, let's give them 2. Raleigh only gets 1, Kentucky gets 3, Minnesota gets 1, Inglewood gets 4, and Michigan gets 3. Okay, if we have that all set up, the likelihood that Inglewood will get the first pick in a round is increased. Notice that this is only for round 1. So if I go to round 2 and now click on any of these teams, you'll see that there are no ping pong balls for any of them. So the ping pong method will only work in the round that you selected for. So if I want to do the same thing in round 2, maybe I'll give New York 1 ping pong. We'll give Raleigh 3, Kentucky 4, Minnesota will give 5, Michigan 2, and Inglewood will only give 1. Not entirely sure why you do that, but you can do it. Okay, then all I have to do is again click the random button, and now it'll generate a list based on those odds. So Kentucky beat the odds in round 1. Inglewood ended up with the 3rd pick overall, and I didn't give ping pong balls to any of the teams draft to any of the teams in rounds 3 or 4 this time. So no team was chosen. Delete all that. Another way to do this, set up the draft order, is to simply add each team manually. So there's Kentucky, here's Raleigh, here's New York. Maybe I screwed up and Michigan should have been between Raleigh and Kentucky here. We'll put Inglewood right in front of Michigan. There we go. And you can continue doing that all the way through. Finally, one other option you have is to have some of the teams select manually. So let's get rid of all of the draft, and let's just set up a basic random order for the first 4 rounds. And then what I'm going to do is, I am from Minnesota, so I want to manually select all of Minnesota's choices. Okay, so I have a list all set up. I see Minnesota came out on top a couple of times there. It didn't use the ping pong balls, and Minnesota will automatically pick or have a human choice every time it pops up in the draft. Alright, so I've got that all set up. I'm just going to go through 4 rounds, and now I'll go ahead and conduct the draft for the first 4 rounds. So here we go. Draft. I'm going to AutoDraft to fill roster, and it says select the number of rounds on the draft order tab. The draft order tab is this one, and I've already set the number of rounds to 4. So now we'll go ahead and click on this, and it'll tell me that it will go ahead and proceed and select 4 players for each team. Okay, and now it must be Minnesota's turn. So we're in round 1, selection number 6. So I'll press OK on this, and now I'm going to pick a player for Minnesota. And let's see, let's go with Elvin Hayes. So we'll pick Elvin, put him on our team, and now I'll simply click the resume button here, and it'll continue on. When I get to round 2, you may have noticed that Minnesota had received the first selection in that round. So we'll repeat the process. Let's go with World Be Free, and we'll just continue on making our selections one by one after we click the resume button. So now we're in round 3, selection number 3. Let's go with Otis Birdsong. Whoops. I missed Otis. There he is. Sometimes you may have to select him from the list even after picking on the best choice option. Okay, we are in the final round. Top pick, and let's go Dan Eisel. I believe that's how you say his name. And then resume. Alright, so all 6 teams now have 4 players. Theoretically, they have pretty comparable rosters as far as talent levels are concerned. And you're well on your way. Okay, now I've only added 4 players to each team, so obviously we need a few more than that in order to get this going. So let's add some more, but let's go back and delete all of the rounds. And let's go ahead and pick out the next 2 rounds. This time we'll remove Minnesota, so we'll just have the computer make our selections for us. And I'll randomly generate the next 2 rounds here. So here's round 1, here's round 2, which in actuality are rounds 5 and 6. So now I can go back and we can go ahead and start auto-drafting some more. Okay, so after a few moments, the draft has resumed and completed, and now we have a total of 6 players on each team. Let's see who they picked. Randy Smith and Jeff Houston. Alright. Now let's say that, well, you know what, I didn't really care for how that went. Maybe I want to do it differently. Let's just go ahead and release all the players from all the teams again and start over. So, release players from all teams. That'll clear all the rosters. And now what I'll do is, in order to do this again, and maybe have a different outcome, I need to delete all the selections. The selections are actually stored for the teams round by round. Although because I stopped halfway through last time and came back, rounds 1 and 2 would have been overwritten. But I'm going to delete these so that it begins in the right spot. So we'll go ahead and clear the draft history. And now we'll set it up in another way. Maybe I want to do 12 rounds. And we'll simply set this up randomly all the way through. I should first clear all the rounds out and then click random. Rounds all ready to go. Now we'll go back to team and choose the same auto draft selection. No teams are manual this time, so we'll simply run through. And done. And there we have 12 different rosters. Let's see what Minnesota ended up with. If you take a look at